Hello and welcome back to Adulting Anonymous. My name is Kudzai, your host, and I am so glad you could join us. So if you are new or if you're listening for the first time, or if you've been listening and you really just don't know, Adulting Anonymous is a platform where we have conversations about the adulting experience as life may have it, and it would be an injustice to our podcast if we did not discuss what we are all currently going through as adults right now. And I guess it's not specific to adults, because even kids are going through it, and whoever doesn't consider themselves an adult is also going through it. And by this I'm talking about the lockdown that the different countries have due to COVID-19. And yeah, so I just want to dive into that I'm not going to be talking about how you're dying or, nothing negative. Yeah, we're all about the positive vibes. So I just wanted to dive in, seeing that May is the month of mental health. So it's Mental Health Month. And I just wanted to dive into this conversations a bit more, seeing that the previous episode where I sat down with one of my friends, Shanam, we spoke about mental health, but that was more from a external, from a corporate perspective. The questions I was asking were basically based on my experiences in corporate, and the people I was working with. So I thought I could sit down and just, talk to you guys about what we all may be going through. So from my conversations with different people as well. You may notice, so I'm trying to do something different, because this is obviously not an interview with a guest, because COVID-19 is teaching us to survive and to think of different ways to get things done. I always knew I was going to eventually I was going to incorporate it in my podcast, but I didn't know it was going to be this soon. But anyway, on that note, there's actually a quote I wrote which actually encouraged me to do this, that I read from one of my friends who posted it, and it said, "Don't be like a tea bag, because a tea bag can't do anything alone." So yeah, here's me trying to not be like a tea bag, and I am here quarantined or social distancing and in lockdown by myself. So I had to introduce this new segment, which basically involves myself, and I basically just either rant or, drop pearls of wisdom on different topics. So I hope you enjoy it, and please do give me feedback. So I'm going to be talking about how we are all locked down, and the different how we may all be feeling, because I think sometimes we don't know what we're feeling until someone actually says, "This is what I'm feeling," and then you can sort of relate, and as a result you can help yourself to say, you can help yourself. So my experience with mental health basically is that I do suffer from anxiety. I have panic attacks, and if you listened to the previous episode, you might have picked that up. I didn't exactly dive into it, but my anxiety basically started as a result of a life experience, which is basically something that happened at work, and ever since then, my life has never been the same. I have literally, and it's been almost a year now since I actually went through that. And as a result, I've basically just been anxious. I feel like we are all anxious, but there's a point when it gets unhealthy and you can't actually handle it, and it's not like healthy anxiety, because there is a type of anxiety that there's a different level of anxiety that actually is deemed to be healthy. It helps you perform and so on and so forth. So I've been at this for the past year or so. And so when the president announced that we're going to be in lockdown, initially I didn't think much about it. I didn't think I was going to suffer or anything. I was actually very excited because, to be honest, I was so tired of driving to work and sitting in traffic and actually just seeing people, especially work people. I was so tired, and yeah, I thought this, like, my first instinct was that I was going to rest, and I obviously thought it was going to be short term because I obviously did not comprehend what the COVID-19 virus was and the effects it would have on the world. So before I go into that, I'm just going to be talking a bit about what mental health is, because I feel like a lot of people talk about mental health, but some of us don't really know what exactly mental health is. And to loosely state, I mean, you can always Google and find like the proper definitions, but to me, what mental health is basically the absence of mental illnesses. So, there's like so many mental illnesses, just to name a few. You've got depression, you've got bipolar, you've got anxiety, you've got schizophrenia, you've got OCD, you've got dementia, autism, and post-traumatic stress disorder. So like there are so many mental illnesses. So for me, when we talk about mental health, or when we're saying a person is mentally healthy, I'm basically I understand that it's just the absence of a mental illness. And whilst different people, I am, just a disclaimer before we get into this further, I am by no means an expert. I hope I can bring an expert to the podcast. I'm working on that, but I'm no expert. I'm just speaking from experience and just sharing things that have helped me cope. So, yes, so that's what mental health is, to me. So, like I mentioned earlier, I suffered from anxiety, and if, like, my doctor was telling me that anxiety and depression are kind of, cousins. If you stay too long in anxiety, then you may end up being depressed. So, how I basically have been approaching this is, I obviously went to my doctor and he prescribed antidepressants. Homeboy didn't even try to take a step back or anything. He went straight for the antidepressants, and I actually did not buy the prescription. I still have the prescription with me because I obviously fall part of the population, or I'm basically one of those that make up the myths and, of mental health. And I guess one thing I've always heard is that if I took pills for mental health, they would have an effect on my moods, and then I wouldn't be able to go about life without them on a normal basis. So that means I'd always be dependent on pills. And for me, I just thought, no man, I don't want my state of calmness, or I don't want to be calm because of pills forever. I'm only a 20-something-year-old. So that means if I start the treatment, that is the medication that he had prescribed, that I would literally spend plus or minus 30 years. I mean, God willingly, if I live till 50 or 60, I would spend those many years depending on this drug. And he had initially said I should take the pills for 6 months. So I was just 6 months drinking pills, and I didn't like the sound of that, so I did not go and get the pills, and I suffered. There are consequences to not listening to your doctor, I guess. So that's basically what happened to me. So that's my experience with mental health. However, in as much as I didn't take my pills, which I don't advise. I mean, if your doctor prescribes medication, please do go buy it. Don't be like me. I don't advise it. But what I did do is that I am a child of God and I am a Christian. So what I did is I basically clung on to God with everything that I have. So I was praying a lot, praise and worship, and different coping mechanisms. I also do a lot of workout. So that kind of helped me curb my anxiety. But the reason why I'm not going into detail is because that's not exactly what I want to focus on. Like I mentioned, I'm not an expert. I am just a normal person trying to help people from my experiences and encourage. So I'm not diving into how I coped and if I'm okay or not, because I don't think I'll ever be okay. But I guess you find ways of coping with the different mental illnesses that you may get. So today I basically want to talk about how we are all in lockdown, but so basically what usually keeps us sane may not be available to us. So if you're a person who usually hangs out with your friends or goes to a certain place, goes to the spa, goes hiking, and that's what you usually do to stay sane, you may not be able to do that at this point in time because obviously we are in lockdown. And I just wanted to share that, if I refer to God into, like, as I speak, please, don't excuse me, but just apply it to how it's suitable for you. So if you're not Christian or if you don't believe in God, but you believe in a higher power somewhere out there, then please relate it to that. So being God's child, I've been observing a lot of people have been like Instagram live, just talking, and people have been leaning on each other. I mean, people are like talking to people they weren't even talking to before the lockdown happened. And I guess I just want to encourage someone today to say, as a child of God, you have a gift that He has given you. You have a talent that He has given you, and I guess one of the major contributors to mental illnesses is that we are idle because we're at home. So we're not doing much and our minds are idle and we are not applying ourselves or, just doing the things that would normally make us happy. And because we are so idle and we allow our thoughts to get out of control, sometimes we do it subconsciously. It results in us thinking that we're either not good enough or what we're doing or that we don't have a place on this earth, because you see people working from home and probably your job cannot be, linked to that type of environment, or you may have been retrenched because so many companies are letting go of their staff and trying to decrease expenses in order to stay afloat. So as a result, we just basically have more people who are idle, and the opposite can also be true, so if you are working from home and like working for major corporations that can go on and that can survive in a working from home environment, then you're probably just swamped, because I find that when you work from home, you tend to put in more hours. You tend to do the most because, your office is just 2 steps away, and we also just fail to put boundaries in place when we're working from home. We feel the urge to always be online, to always communicate with people we're reporting to, and that obviously takes its toll on your mental health as well. So I want to speak more to the idol group today, and I guess being a person who recently just started, let's say, exploring different aspects of my talents, I guess I think I went for a long time thinking that I didn't have a talent, because I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't act. So I was like, well, God, so what do you think? What happens now? Because now it's awkward because I don't think I have a talent. And then just always, I went back to my Bible, because that's what the Bible is for. It's our manual to life. And it basically just says, lets us in on different talents. Like if you go to 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9, it says, the same Spirit gives great faith to another, and to it says, to one person, the Spirit gives the ability to give wise advice. To another, the same Spirit gives a message of special knowledge. The same Spirit gives great faith to another, and to someone else, the one Spirit gives gift of healing. He gives one person the power to perform miracles, and another the ability to prophesy. He gives someone else the ability to discern whether a message is from the Spirit of God or from another spirit, still another person is given the ability to speak in a known language, while another is given the ability to interpret what is being said. So basically, taking away from this scripture, even if you're not Christian, it basically says even the things that we don't recognize are gifts, those things can be talents. I mean, some people have an ability to make people laugh effortlessly, and whilst you may think it's something small, it is your gift, and some people have the ability to encourage people. Some people have the ability to dance, sing, act. I mean, if you are lucky that you can. So I just want to talk about using our talents to keep us sane during this lockdown period. And I believe if you start now, it may even turn out to blow out and keep you sane for the rest of your life. So there's so many examples that we have. There's this Kenyan girl. Yeah, and I discovered her on social media, and she basically just creates short clips of videos and starts laughing. Her name is Elsa. I'm sure most of you would know her. But when she was posting those videos, she never thought that that the world would respond to her content the way that they did, because now she's getting interviews and, she's basically living out her purpose by using her talents, and she seems very happy. Obviously, I don't know her, but it's one example of how, using the little that you have, to keep yourself sane, even when we are locked down, can actually come through for your mental health and other people's mental health. Because just imagine how she's making people laugh and how she's making people happy just by being funny. Yeah, so basically just to encourage someone out there that there's something that you have, something that you deem to be small, and you are not using it. Maybe you're either disqualifying yourself or thinking that it's not good enough, or you think that you may, that it's basically nothing. Or sometimes you do know you've got a talent, but you're waiting for something to happen. So you're basically waiting for the lockdown rules to be lifted. You're waiting for, the month of June to start before you can actually start doing something with your job. With your talent. And I just want to encourage you to start now, Some people are telling themselves that they don't have the resources they need so they can't, let's say, start a YouTube channel, they can't post a video, they can't make people laugh, they can't reach out to family, because sometimes your gift is just reaching out to your family members and your friends and just asking them if they're okay, Like I said, there's no gift or talent that is deemed to be too small and too insignificant. And whatever you're waiting for, or if you're crippled by fear, and you think something bad is going to happen if you tap into your potential, I just want to encourage you today that it's really not the case. What fear does is it wants us to believe that if we do something that we want, then if people don't conceive it as being, if it doesn't blow up, or if people say no, that's wrong, or if people don't enjoy it, fear basically makes us think that that's the end of the world. And I'm here to tell you that it really is not the end of the world. If you post something or if you work on something and it's not successful, then that's all that's going to happen. That's literally the worst that could happen. You could tap into your potential. You could work on your talents, or, you could make people laugh, or you could try to make people laugh and they don't laugh. You could try to encourage someone and they're not encouraged. But then that's literally the worst that could happen. The worst that could happen is no. And I guess it also just reminds me of one of the quotes that says, being afraid of hearing a no is stopping you from ever hearing a yes. So that's just one of the quotes I stumbled upon, and it just resonated with me. How many things are you stopping yourself from doing that are stopping you from hearing a possible yes? Because remember, if you don't put it out there, or if you don't do something, you'll never know if it actually works or if it will be great. And so many people are so obsessed with perfectionism that you don't understand that you can't be perfect without starting. So if you want to start a blog, if you want to start singing, if you want to start dancing, if you want to start running, or whatever you want to start doing, you can't perfect it if you don't start. And because you're so crippled by fear, or you are anxious about what will happen if you do start, then you are obviously stopping yourself from ever hearing a yes. And when I say yes, I don't mean people blowing up. I mean a yes from yourself, where you actually find that you are fulfilled and that you're living your purpose and that you're actually using your gifts and your talents. So I don't know who's listening to this today. It's just a short skit. If you're listening to this, I want you to look around you. And if you don't know your talent, it's okay. It's okay. Ask God or a higher power to reveal what your talent is to you. Spend time in the Word, and ask God, what am I good at? What do you want me to be doing? And remember that not using your talent or just sitting on it is actually a sin, because they are now depriving other people of experiencing your calling and your purpose. And another thing is that there's someone out there who's watching you or who looks up to you. No pressure, but then there's someone out there whose freedom or whose light shining is dependent on you tapping into your gift. So if you need any motivation, just imagine the amount of wealth you're sitting on, the amount of talent you're sitting on, and just imagine what that can do for the world. So just imagine if you want to talk about big names, Trevor Noah didn't start, if he thought he wasn't funny enough, so he decided, you know what, I'm just going to stick to my corporate job or whatever. Think of what that Elsa girl, and even like people that blow up on TikTok and so on and so forth, and it all ends up opening doors for them. Just imagine if they hadn't shot that TikTok. Just imagine if you don't do what you feel is supposed to do, what you feel you're supposed to do. And just before I close off, just if you don't know what your talent or what your gift is, just think of the one thing that's always bothering you, like in the back of your mind. We've got guts, we've got instincts, we've got consciences. Just think of what what you've always wanted to do, because that's how you identify your talent. So the desires that you have for your life. If you've always wanted to start photography, but you felt like you didn't have a camera, and it's something that's been at the back of your mind, think of that one thing. What is it? Now that you've thought about it, write it down. Like, you may not have all the answers now, but then just think of the things that set your soul on fire. What excites you? Like, what shows are you always watching? What content are you always consuming? Because that's probably the direction in which your purpose and your talent is at, but then you just haven't figured it out. And if you also haven't, you can try asking the people around you, because sometimes people will tell you, you know what, you're good at this, you're good at singing, you can sing, you can dance, and they also just help you find out identify your talent. So that's basically it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you can identify a talent, a gift, or just anything you can do during this lockdown period to keep yourself sane, to keep yourself mentally healthy, and to keep a sound mind. That's it from me. Thanks for listening, guys. Bye.